And so we welcome you all. Good evening. My name is Dr. Natalie Bembry, and I'm the faculty advisor for the Graduate Student Association for the School of Social Work. And so I am going to mute myself, but we are going to turn it over to the board.
To succeed in today's increasingly diverse world.
There we go. I'm going to mute myself, and we are going to turn this over to the board, who has an exciting program that they're going to be sharing with you all. So I'm grateful to hear from them as well. So I'm turning it over to the board, to the co-chairs, Alia and Lauren.
Hi, everyone. I'm Alia Sarwi. I'm one of the co-chairs of the Graduate Student Organization. And some of the people you see here with their videos on are also members of the Graduate Student Organization. So today, as you know, we're going to discuss tips and techniques and tricks to help you navigate your school year. So I'm going to share my screen here. Let's see. Can everybody see my screen? Yes, okay. Sorry, it's loading. Come on. You see it? I don't know why mine says it's loading.
It says it's still loading for us.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. Come on. Just refresh. Sorry, I'm just going to refresh it. Maybe while my computer is getting refreshed, the GSA can introduce themselves and their position.
So I'll go ahead. My name is Lauren. I'm the other co-chair of the Graduate Student Association. I'm a second year full-time student in the 2-year program, and this is my second year, and I'll let the rest of the board introduce themselves.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kelly. I'm the secretary, and I am also full-time. I'm a second-year student, and I'm in the on-campus program in New Brunswick.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ruth. I am the communications representative for this year. I am in my second year in the part-time program on campus in New Brunswick.
Hi everyone, sorry, I'm having issues with my computer. My name is Emma. I'm the clinical representative. I'm a second year traditional student.
Hello everyone, my name is Tyrell Knight. I am a non-traditional clinical social work student, and I'm in my second year. Well, I'm in my
Hi everyone, my name is Julia, and I am one of the other non-traditional student representatives on GSA. I'm part of the intensive weekend program, and it's my third and final year, yay. For anyone else who's in the intensive weekend program, I'm based in a Parsippany cohort, but I know we're all over the state, and can't wait to, speak with all of you today.
Hi, I'm V. I'm one of the first-year MSW student and also a dual degree MSW policy student. So I'm one of your management and policy co-representatives this year.
Is that everybody? Okay, again, I'm Alia. I am a co-chair and I am part of the online MSW program. It's a 3-year program. So I think my presentation is now working. Can everybody see my screen? Okay. So we just went around and introduced ourselves, but we want to tell you a bit about the Graduate Student Organization. So we are a group of social work students who serve to support the academic, social, and professional pursuits of all of you, our peers. As you can see, there's different representatives, so we promote unity among all graduate level students, and communication and cohesiveness as well between us and the faculty. So if you have any issues, you can come to us and we can, take them to each other or to faculty. Okay. So the next slide was basically the executive board. We just all introduced ourselves. And then we were going to go around and talk about what we wished we had known when we started off. So I guess I'll begin. As an online student, for me, I think I wish I had known that it was going to take a little bit of adjusting to do something fully online. I was used to having in-person classes. So just navigating Canvas, learning how to manage my own time when usually you are, your schedule's planned out, everything is just based on me. And then when, things are due, it's up to me to get them done. It's not you're not coming to class. So it was time management and definitely getting used to like self-learning a lot of the time. So if anyone else wants to add to that.
So for me, it was also a really big adjustment coming back to school as an intensive weekend program student. I learned partially online, partially in person. But one thing that I wish I knew sooner in my journey is that not only is it okay to ask for help, but sometimes you will need to. Or you will likely need to throughout the course of your time in the MSW program. And I, over time, have gotten more comfortable, reaching out to professors and kind of advocating honestly about what I need. But I wish I had sort of figured that out a little bit sooner because I think it would have saved me some stress. It's hard sometimes admitting when, things are overwhelming and you might need a little extra support. But in the long run, it's really made a difference for me being able to, share with my professors more openly about what's going on if things are challenging, because this is a long program. It's a big commitment. Things come up, and the vast majority of the time, my professors have been incredibly understanding and encouraging anytime I have reached out to them.
So for me, I went into my MSW program straight from undergrad here at Rutgers. So one of the things that I wish I knew coming from undergrad was that some of the resources that we're going to talk about today are also available to graduate students. I just assumed that they were only for undergrads. So I kind of wish that I was utilizing those resources my first year. Now I'm glad that I know that they're available for grad students, but that was what I wish I knew.
Yeah, like Kelly said, I really wish I knew about all the resources that are offered to Rutgers students, regardless of undergrad, graduate, PhD level. I came from out of state, so I wasn't really familiar with Rutgers, and I'm an on-campus student at New Brunswick. So for me, I didn't realize like, hey, I could use the gyms here, or on like Bush or Livingston campus, like they have these really cool recreation trails. So there's like so much that's offered that a lot of times, even if you did undergrad here, you might not even know that it's available. So that's what I wish I would have known.
I would say that, so we're a community. So just don't forget that you're honestly going to school and in cohort with full of a bunch of people who are passionate and talented and caring. So don't hesitate when in terms of connecting with each other and then being stewards of these resources for each other.
One thing that I wish I knew was that there's a lot of dual programs, and if you're early enough, you can switch into the dual programs if you'd like. Like one of the cool dual programs is getting a JD in addition to your MSW. So like that's a really cool thing that I wish I knew about earlier so I could take advantage of that. But
something I wish I would have known earlier going into the 3-year blended program was that I needed time to just like making sure that I had time to like adjust to, you know, what it was like being an online student, especially during the pandemic. It was, you know, a little different from what I was used to, especially during undergrad. And then I went straight to graduate school after undergrad as well. So it just took some adjusting to, and then some, I guess, working on my time management skills, because you have like weekly assignments that you have to stay on top of, like weekly discussion posts. So that was a little different from what I was used to.
One thing that I wish I knew earlier is when I started the program is being able to know how to get around to different buildings in the New Brunswick campus, since I go in person. I didn't go to Rutgers for my undergraduate, so I had a very hard time trying to navigate the bus times and the buildings and the parking lots, you know, how to navigate from one spot to another. So I wish I knew about, you know, the certain apps that they offer and maps before I had the time, before, you know, learning about it towards the end of my first semester.
Okay, so now we're going to move on to general tips. So we've compiled a bunch of information for you that we think would be helpful.
All right, so to kick it off, we're just going to discuss a few tips on time and stress management, as many of us alluded to in terms of kind of what we were just sharing. There's a lot of responsibility on your plate as an MSW student, but that doesn't have to bring you down. So one of our suggestions is that at the beginning of the semester, or your course, depending on your mode of study, make sure you review your syllabus as thoroughly as you can and ask questions if something's unclear. Waiting to kind of go over things later on can really be overwhelming because things can add up. But if you're proactive and take a look either before your first class or very shortly after, that can really alleviate some stress down the line. If you aren't already aware of this, you will soon become aware that there's a lot of reading involved with most of the courses in our program. So that's something that I struggled to navigate at the beginning of my experience. And my suggestion is to, try to read as much as you can, but be selective, right? A lot of my professors have admitted that there are times when they know themselves, it's not always possible for people to complete every single reading that's posted on Canvas, especially in the intensive weekend program. So you have to find ways to narrow it down, right? To make sure that you're keeping up with what you really need to as best as you can. And going through and taking a look at discussion topics and essay prompts that are posted for your assignments can be a really good way to help you figure out how to prioritize articles, right? Because you could find yourself sitting there and wondering, oh my gosh, how do I know which pieces are important and which ones aren't? And in all honesty, sometimes it's a guessing game. But using discussion post prompts and essay topics to guide you can be a good way to kind of start that process. And then in terms of writing, we do a lot of that as well. And this was something that was also challenging for me at the beginning as someone who had generally been a pretty confident writer prior to entering grad school. So it was a little bit of a surprise. But one of the best pieces of advice that I got from my academic advisor is that every paper doesn't have to be your best paper. If you're striving for perfection across the board, that can be paralyzing. And so thinking about your assignments in terms of what you really need to do, not ideally what you want to do to make something spectacular, but what you really need to do to complete it, can be a helpful way to sort of move beyond some of the anxiety that you could feel when looking at massive papers that occur pretty regularly. If you're able to go the extra mile, that's fantastic. I'm not trying to suggest that people cut back and don't strive to be high achievers, but just know that it's okay if not every paper is your absolute best work. Get done what you need to get done and move on, just for the sake of progressing, well on the whole throughout your semester. One thing that some people can find pretty stressful and that can trip them up time-wise is process recordings. So as best as you can, we suggest that you try to stay on top of those. Catching up can be really difficult if you fall behind on them. So really keeping a schedule regularly is a helpful way to make sure that, whenever your process recordings are all due, you're not trying to do all of them at once. You're not supposed to, but sometimes it can happen, right? So as best as you can, come up with a schedule for yourself. As I mentioned earlier, it's really important to be proactive if you're sensing that you need support in a class. Communicating honestly and early is a lot better than kind of either waiting until the last minute or not saying anything and then regretting that you didn't reach out for help, because we're all people, we're not just students. So life happens. And sometimes if you don't ask for help when you need it, it can affect your grade when it doesn't necessarily have to if you reach out for support sooner. In that vein, be honest with yourself if you need a break. I don't mean to make it seem as though this program is entirely stressful. There are lots of fun things about it, but there might be times when you feel as though your mental or physical health are becoming challenging for you. And it's really important to prioritize those and know that if you don't take care of yourself as a person, it might become more difficult for you to be successful as a student. So make sure that you dedicate time in your daily or weekly schedule for some self-care. We hear that a lot in social work, but it genuinely matters. If you think about your experience in grad school as kind of a long game, not just the short-term experience, it is important for you to figure out how to make sure that you're filling your cup on the regular and not just working all the time. So I know our next slide is going to kind of focus a little bit more on what self-care could look like.
So our next slide focuses on self-care. So don't forget to breathe. You are in this program for a reason. You belong here. Self-care is a really important part of social work. Everyone must practice it because it helps us to kind of like stay in tune with who we are. And, we need it in order to keep going. So some self-care ideas are meditation, yoga, walk or exercise, take a spa day, take care of plants, hang with your pets, journal thoughts and ideas, work on saying no, take a nap, read your favorite book, watch a movie, or listen to music. What does self-care look like to you? So for me, self-care can be any of these. I personally feel like, self-care can be whatever it is that makes you feel that can bring you to like a place of calm. It puts you at ease. It takes your mind off of, work and the day-to-day stresses of life. So it's super important that we put time aside for that so that you can, focus on you.
So next up, we're going to talk a little bit about navigating Canvas. So Canvas is the learning management system that Rutgers uses. You'll find all of your assignments there. And what's great is that there's an app for Canvas that we highly recommend that you install on your phone. Making sure that you have it on your phone gives you a chance to more easily get notifications if your professors update assignment due dates, project directions, or they just give you feedback on your work. It's really, really convenient to have Canvas on your phone. And then within Canvas, whether you're using it on your phone or on your laptop, know that the calendar feature can be incredibly helpful. So if you go to the calendar section of Canvas, you'll be able to see pretty much all of the assignment due dates and meeting times for all of your classes. It can be challenging to figure out how to manage a heavy workload when you're involved with multiple courses at a time, or an intensive weekend. Our overlap period can be pretty difficult. But looking at the calendar gives you kind of a snapshot of like everything that you're expected to do assignment-wise and meeting-wise over the course of 1 month's time. If you want to transfer that over to Google Calendar or a different calendar system that you use, that's great, but know that Canvas does offer it right there. Something that I remember feeling when I first started the MSW program was that it was a little difficult to figure out different professors' ways of organizing their course shells. So you're not alone if you have felt that yourself. Everybody, arranges them differently. So it's okay to be confused. We suggest that you explore all sections of Canvas to familiarize yourself with each instructor's style. Making sure that you do this kind of early on can ease concerns as you progress through your course. And again, know that if you have questions or you notice mistakes, ask your professors. Do so respectfully, but chances are if you double or triple check something and you're still confused, you're not the only one. So it does matter to reach out and check in. Your professors want you to be successful. When it comes to uploading assignments, make sure you give yourself ample time. As a minute chaser myself, this can be very challenging, but know that technology can be unreliable. It is not always our friend. So making sure that you kind of have a bit of a buffer in case something goes wrong, whether your Wi-Fi cuts out or Microsoft Word is not enjoying the Google Doc that you're trying to convert. You don't want to be trying to upload an assignment so close to the deadline that you end up missing it. So try to prepare in that way. And then finally, within the grades section of each course on Canvas, there's a feature that allows you to test different scores on ungraded assignments. So if you're like me, you might be curious, what's the minimum grade, the minimum score you need to get on a particular assignment in order to still reach that A for your final grade. And Canvas allows you to do that. So I would definitely recommend kind of exploring that. Don't go too wild. It can cause more anxiety if you spend too long playing around with your grades, but I found it really helpful just to kind of gauge what my goals are from assignment to assignment as I progress throughout the semester. But yeah, Canvas, it's our best friend and our worst friend at times, but we all have to use it. So hopefully this helps.
I just wanted to announce that we're also just doing a few polls. So if you see them pop up, please make sure to fill them out.
Okay, so GroupMe is a great way to stay in touch with your class and classmates for each of your classes. I know this year for all of my classes, creating a GroupMe chat allows me to keep in contact with my classmates for the specific classes. And we also have a class of 2023 group chat. We're currently working on creating multiple class group chats. So you guys should have access to those as well. And we're planning on sending them out through Arlene Hunter. She is one of the program directors. So keep an eye out for that. If you guys already have a GroupMe chat, that's fantastic. Just let us know and we can share that as well. But they're really great ways to keep in contact. And you could also create one for, groups that you have that are not school related as well. So they're a great way for communication. And Ruckers also uses Discord, which we don't talk about as their official means of communication. So if you get an on-campus job or something like that, you might also have Discord groups.
this is our slide on internships and field work. So a lot of us students, we're doing field typically throughout our programs. I know at least for the full-time ones, you're doing 15 hours of field your first year, and then your second year, 22 and a half hours. So with that said, that is a lot of hours and a lot of clinical and even math experience you're getting, and a big part of the MSW program in general. So your field liaison, they're there to help you navigate, your placement. Like if you have any questions or concerns, and, like you say, if there are like safety issues or, maybe there's problems happening that your task supervisor or site supervisor isn't handling appropriately, you definitely want to go to your field liaison so they can help you with that. And as our second bullet point indicates, if you do have trouble with your field placement, like say maybe certain things aren't working out or just different issues are coming up, definitely reach out to them as well. And in terms of spacing out your hours, everyone's schedule works different based on, classes, if they're doing part-time, full-time, intensive weekend, online, etc. So sometimes it works out doing a full 1 or 2 days a week, or spreading it out evenly, of course, across the course of 3 or 4 days. So it really depends on what works for you. And, it can be different, your schedule, your first semester in the fall, and then going into the spring. And there are some options to do field work over the summer, or different study abroad programs can actually lessen the amount of field time you do during the typical school year. And again, not only your field liaison, but even your task supervisor, site supervisor, definitely utilize them, whether it be in supervision or outside of those hours, just sending an email. They're here for you as well. And and the last thing about process recordings, I believe, as Julia mentioned earlier, they sometimes catch up to you. Typically, you're supposed to do 4 either process recordings or journals per month. So typically that would even up to 1 per week. So yeah, so sometimes it's you are able to do them during your internship. Other times you might have to do them outside hours, but it really does help to try to keep on track of them, that you're not stuck doing 6 or more at once.
So jumping into some resources. Okay, thank you. The first one is Rucker Student Health. I won't go into a ton on Rucker Student Health because your access to it does depend on your status at the university. So whether you're full-time or part-time. So if you're curious about that, I would access the website or call. But there are a variety of health services available on all campuses, and these resources are all listed here on the slide, but there are health centers on New Brunswick, Newark, and Camden, and we have some phone numbers and websites right here. But I'll move on to mental health. You want to switch the slide for me? So again, all 3 campuses offer mental health resources. Their counseling centers are named differently, but it's essentially all the same services. So they offer individual counseling. There are groups available as well. New Brunswick also has the Alcohol and Other Drug Assistance Program. All 3 campuses also offer psychiatry in some way, shape, or form. It looks a little different everywhere. But there are mental health services available to you. So if you are in need of that, each of the counseling offices also offers drop-in hours. It just is at a different time of day depending on the campus. So if that's something that you are in need of or interested in, I would definitely reach out or check out their websites. And another resource is the Office for Violence Prevention and Victim Assistance, the VPVA office. Again, all 3 campuses have an office for VPVA. I've listed their contact information and locations as well. But essentially anyone impacted by interpersonal violence can access their services. So they offer free and confidential counseling. Individual, there are also support groups offered by these offices. They offer advocacy as well. So if you need help accessing specific services and you would like someone to help you out with that, they will do that for you. All three offices also offer 24/7 crisis intervention. So they have hotlines, which I've also listed below. Even when the offices are not open, you can still call and access services. The Newark campus also has a text line, which is interesting, but there are phone services available at all three. Also, if you're interested in this kind of work in general, there are ways of getting involved rather than seeking services. So there's programming events that occur on all three campuses that I know that they need volunteers for. There's also the crisis response advocate team that I know in New Brunswick you can sign up to join. If you'd like more information about that, I put it in the MSW chat, but I'm also on the crisis response team. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me about that.
All right, so for financial literacy, Scarlet Sense, this is actually a new resource that just came up. So another kind of like go-to point for finding resources is that we have the MSW email bulletin, that and then different events or resources that the overarching Graduate Student Association posts about. They added this one recently called Scarlet Sense. So this is a free resource to students going over logistics of student loan borrowing, loan repayment, looking at savings, investing, and debt. So they also have a free financial literacy website that you can navigate to learn more about this, as well as a phone number to get in touch with.
So we also have, if you are seeking financial aid, you can apply through the Rutgers website. I don't know how many of you are doing financial aid, but it is very helpful just to go through. Well, I have it linked here, but I'll pop it in the chat as well. And then the financial services webpage is also has everything listed out. Sometimes it can be hard to find like accounting services, or, you know, for the online program, we actually have a specific person that we speak to. So your program might also have a specific financial aid representative to speak to, and then you can speak with them and then they'll forward you on to the, you know, correct department. So I'll pop these links in the chat, and if you have any other questions, feel free to put them in there.
So another resource is the Office of Career Exploration and Success. So through this office, there are numerous events for students and alumni that take place throughout the year, some of which include resume writing workshops. You can also receive help with interview preparation. If you take a look at the Career Services website, which we include on this slide, you'll notice that they have career advising, career and internship fairs, which I'll talk a little bit about in a moment, and also different mentorship opportunities. Something that the Office of Career Exploration and Success promotes very often is something called Handshake. And this is a networking platform designed specifically for students to connect with employers. So it's, you know, promoted through this office, and there are more details on how to register for that through their website. So what's really exciting is that if we go to the next slide, we'll see there's actually an event that Career Services is hosting later this week. So there's a career and internship mega fair And this is open to students who participate in all different campuses through Rutgers, but it is located in New Brunswick. It's at the Jersey Mike's Arena, which is on the Livingston campus. So if you're available on either Thursday or Friday this week from noon to 4, there will be over 250 employers who are participating. So this could be a really great networking opportunity to discuss both jobs and internship opportunities as well. Mind you, the employers represent various different fields, but it is likely that there will be people within the social services sector too. So feel free to check out the link on this slide if you're interested in learning more about it and how to register as well.
So within the Rutgers University, there are a bunch of different tutoring services that we can use for access when we're in need of either having a paper get checked over, or if there's certain writing questions you have in the nature of that. I know there are some in-person learning centers. It depends on what campus you go to. So at the Rutgers Learning Center, there are tons of services, including peer writing, a drop-in tutoring service, academic coaching, writing tutoring, which includes feedback and edits on papers and specific programs for grad students. There are study groups, and there's events on academic success and other important topics. And a lot of these services I personally have used, and they're very helpful. Normally, I would just schedule an appointment ahead of time, just so it's easier for me to have somebody help me, and they are very great, especially with the writing services, getting back to you on some good feedback that can definitely, help you when you're writing your papers. So there's a website down below. You could just always save that. And once you get into the website, it's going to definitely give you more information about where the learning centers are, depending on what campus you are on. There's also libraries that are good resources when you're in need of help. There are 3 libraries at the New Brunswick campus, one on both Newark and Camden, and all libraries have the same books and databases. When it comes to the library, they have a lot of good resources when it comes to working on projects and essays or any nature of that, where you feel as if you will benefit from using a database. There's also librarians that are there that are able to guide you and help you with, the certain topic you're looking for your paper or a project. They also have rooms where there's group study rooms that are available, as well as numerous desks for studying. So for the group study rooms, you just have to speak to the librarian and, figure out a time frame and a date that you would like to go in there with your group. There's also events that are constantly held at the library. It just depends on the campus that you're located at, but they definitely have a lot of, throughout the semester that will be beneficial when it comes to, looking for resources and getting that extra help. You can also borrow textbooks from the library, just as long as you have your Rutgers ID. And we also have a special librarian who specializes in social work. Her email is julia.maxwell@rutgers.edu. She is definitely the one I would say to go to for when you're looking for certain databases, or if you're writing a paper and you feel like you're stuck. She will definitely be the guide to help you move to this next step. With her, she's able to give you all the feedback and just help you get into resources as in finishing your paper. So the library and the tutoring center are very good services, I want to say, when it comes to being a social work student and trying to navigate your way through, writing your papers and your working on projects as well.
So I actually work for the Rutgers Rock Wall, which many people don't know even exists, but it's in one of the rec centers, and the rec centers are a great resource for all students. The only people who aren't allowed to use the rec centers are our BHS students. But other than that, if you're online student as well, you can use the rec centers. There's centers throughout, there's multiple centers throughout the New Brunswick campus, as well as the Newark and Camden campuses. They're free to use. You actually pay for them with your tuition, so I highly recommend you use them. There's pools, there's workout equipment, saunas, spas, basketball courts, tennis courts, racquetball courts, you know, the list goes on. Rutgers has lots of stuff at the rec centers. Can you actually, oh, there you go. Okay. So there's also the Go Outdoor program, which I'm a facilitator at, and it's a fantastic program that gets students outside. You know, some of the services they offer are rock climbing, hiking, kayaking, camping, etc. And you can sign up for those through the rec website, which I can drop in the chat. Sorry, I didn't put it on the slide. And then next slide, please. So the Rucker Student Food Pantry is a really great resource. It actually started just the year before I came to Rutgers for undergrad. And it, you know, serves thousands of students every single year. And it exclusively serves Rutgers students. All you need to have is a Rutgers ID, and you can go to one of the food pantries that Rutgers has. I know there's one in New Brunswick. There's also one in Camden and Newark. I don't have the addresses for those, but we can provide those as well. And this food pantry gives fresh food, farmers market vouchers for local farmers markets, and canned goods. And they have pretty good hours. Calling beforehand is always encouraged. And then grad student housing. A lot of grad students don't know that Rutgers provides housing for us. If you are a full-time grad student, so taking 12 or more credits, you can apply for housing for yourself, or if you have a partner or husband or wife and your children, or partner. And these housing options are available for a maximum of 5 years. So any student that is going to be at Rutgers for more would have to reapply. But they are open year round, which is great and better than normal student housing, which usually closes over the winter and the summers. And then there's information on the costs. It's $1,000, less than $1,000 a month for a single room in a shared apartment, or $1,400.97 for a 2-bedroom apartment. So they're reasonably cheaper than normal housing options, and they give you great access to everything and being close to campus. So parking at Rutgers is very confusing. Having gone to Rutgers undergrad and grad school, I still am confused often, but the DOTS website is really great if you are confused, and they're pretty good at answering any calls or messages you have to their chat. So I would recommend to students, as soon as they go live, you should buy a pass. They sell out very fast. If you go to the website for this year, multiple have sold out already, and we're only a few days into the school year. One good tip that I recommend is if you know someone who has alternate days with you that you're going to be on campus, then you can share the pass with them as long as you're not on campus at the same time. So that's a really great resource to split the costs. And as Natalie said in the chat, Rutgers does make a ton of money on parking tickets. I have given Rutgers money out for parking tickets, even when I had a pass. So, you know, always make sure you know where you're parking. Always make sure you're in the right spot. Make sure you have your pass. Don't risk it. You'll get a ticket. If you do get a ticket and you think it was wrongfully given, take photos. They require photos for their process to refute tickets. And then if you don't go to campus often and you just want to stop by every once in a while, the Passport Parking app is a really great resource they have as well. And you can use that at any of the parking meter spots.
So if you told someone that you were going to Rutgers, they probably mentioned buses or made a joke about that. But I have some information here to help you navigate it. I went to undergrad here at Rutgers, and it took me a while to kind of like learn the ins and outs. But Emma and I are willing to share our secrets of Rutgers with all of you. So the first thing with buses, I did notice that a lot of you are from New Brunswick campus and on campus. So I will kind of focus a little bit on that campus with buses. But I would highly recommend the Transloc app. It is a little bit better than what the Rutgers app offers. It's more accurate, and you can actually see where your bus is on the app and see how close it is, rather than just seeing an estimation of the time it's going to take for it to get there. So definitely download that if you haven't already. So some notes about Rutgers buses: they are all free. You don't need your ID to get on. They're accessible to students and pretty much anyone in the community. A little bit on bus etiquette. So make sure that when the bus pulls up to the bus stop, that you wait for everybody to get off before you get on. So make sure you stand at least a few feet away from the door. It does get really crowded, and some students might just rush in, but make sure that you're being mindful of others and letting them off. Also, they can be really packed. So make sure that you're budgeting your time carefully, and just assume that you'll be delayed with the buses. Honestly, I would recommend budgeting like 10 or 15 extra minutes just in case, especially during those very high traffic times, especially like rush hour time, like between 2 p.m. and like 6 is really bad. But Rutgers buses are also accessible for anybody with mobility impairments or need a wheelchair accessibility. But if that doesn't work for you, you can also contact accessibility services, and they have a van that can help you get to your classes. Also, if you live near campus or on campus, when the bus services end, they do offer the night mover to kind of cover that in-between time from when the buses stop running and when they start again. So between 3 a.m. and 6 a.m., you can call the number that's on the slide and get a personal ride from wherever you are to wherever you're living if it's on campus. Also, the bus drivers are nice. Make sure to thank them. They're awesome. And then in terms of other campuses, there's no transportation between New Brunswick, Newark, and Camden that's provided by Rutgers, but definitely the Northeast Corridor line, the train, NJ Transit. You can save money if you're a Rutgers student, so make sure that if you're buying a pass or tickets that you register through Rutgers. And if you need any more assistance, the Department of Transportation Services is super informative on their website, so I would recommend looking. And Alia, you can switch the slide for me. So since I noticed that a lot of you are going to be in New Brunswick, I figured we could show this slide. This is kind of like a little cheat sheet for the buses. It seems really overwhelming at first, but one thing to remember is that during the week, every bus only goes to 2 campuses. So basically you just have to think about where you're going. So if you're currently on Cook Douglas and you're going to College Ave, you'll have 2 options, but there isn't going to be a bus that goes from College Ave to Cook Douglas to Livingston. So you really just have to think about where you currently are and where you're going and find a bus that says those 2 campuses on them. I have little mnemonic devices on here if you want to like take a picture with your phone or screenshot it. These are just what I used when I was an undergrad to help me remember. But there's a lot of options, and if you get creative, you can be quick with how you get to your classes. But always make sure that you're remembering that the buses are not immune to traffic. So most of the buses will be traveling on Route 18. So if there's a lot of car traffic, there's also going to be traffic that you experience when you're riding the bus. So just keep that in mind if it's like rush hour early or the later rush hour. Yeah, what Emma just said in the chat, if you have a class in the late afternoon or evening, it can be really, really packed and take a long time to get between campuses, especially if you're crossing the river. So if you're going from Bush or Livingston to College Ave or Cook Douglas, it'll probably take a little while, but you'll get the hang of it. It won't be too bad.
Okay, and this is another resource for social work students. And this is NASSAU, so the National Association of Social Workers. So this acronym might sound familiar. A lot of times during the beginning of your courses, you're going to go over the NASSAU Code of Ethics. So this is like our national board, or NASSAU sets the standards for all social workers in the United States. So NASSAU, they have student memberships. And I personally am a member of the NASSAU New Jersey chapter, and there are other students within Rutgers who are members as well. So NASSAU is great for networking opportunities, whether it be as a student or as a recent graduate or as a professional, networking with other social work professionals looking for jobs. And for students specifically, they do have student resources. So they do send out emails and have webinars geared towards students. And Emma just put in the group chat, a student membership is $20 a year. And different times during the year, they'll offer like free memberships, like promotions. Another great resource with NASSAU is they do offer scholarships as well. One of the second year students, Oliver Nicholson, he just won one of the main NASSAU scholarships recently. So they do offer them within your state chapters. And later on, when you are getting closer to graduation, they do offer licensing exam prep, whether it be like a course or just like different resources for taking that exam and what you need to know. And in addition to that, besides different webinars, professional development, and continuing education credits, they do have state and national conferences that are really cool to attend. This past summer, I actually attended the National Social Work Conference down in Washington, D.C. As a student member. And through the student membership, you were able to attend the conference for free, being a volunteer. And I highly recommend going if you do get the chance, because I got to meet so many different professionals across the country for social work in all different types of fields, and connect with students all across the country that like we still have like our group chat and keep in touch. So definitely recommend getting connected with NASSAU, whether it be as a student or later on in your social work career.
So we're actually looking for people to join the graduate student organization. I'm going to send out an interest form in the chat if you are interested in any of these positions. We're looking for a treasurer, a first-year representative. There will actually be two, an MSW curriculum representative. That's more between faculty and the student, and then also the idea committee as well. So if you're interested, please fill out the form I'm going to pop in the chat.
So thank you for everyone who signed up for this first meeting of the GSA. We're really glad that we had a lot of people able to make it tonight. I know it's can be busy the first 2 weeks of the semester, but we did really want to provide some sort of resource, or rather resources that we wish we knew that's available for students. And we're hoping to get this PowerPoint out somewhere, either on our website or share it with the general email from the department. And at this time, since we have finished our PowerPoint, we are gonna take some questions if anyone has any, either if you want to do like the kind of like raise your hand icon on Zoom, or pop like your question in the chat, and then one of the e-board members can answer that for you.
Also, if your question didn't get answered in the chat, feel free to send it again.
I think someone had a question earlier about resumes in the Career Center resource slide, or in the Career Center website as well. They do have like a resume service where they can help students with their resumes, and especially like you can tell them like what your major, or in this case, like you're a social work student, and they can help tailor that to the jobs or whatever kind of angle you're trying to create your resume to fit.
Regarding the question whether the Rec Center offers online workout classes, they do. They actually have their own app. If you want to download it, you can look at their website, rec.ruckers.edu, and you can sign up for online workout classes, and they're really great. All the instructors are fantastic.
I didn't even know that. This is great. I'm so excited.
Yeah, they have a great a yoga class online.
Thank you, Emma. This is awesome.
And we're also here for you. So please let us know if there's anything, any ideas you have for future presentations, or anything that you would like, from us. We're happy to do like a one-pager and send it out of all of this, along with, the video for the presentation as well, if that would be helpful.
So you can actually get your ID online mailed to you. You submit a photo, and then they will send it to your address that they have on file after the new student orientation. If you guys have that, I'm not sure if you do, but you can request it. Fully online students can also get IDs. I'm going to put the link for this in the chat right now.
Another cool resource with the student ID is on the New Brunswick, but the Livingston campus. They have a Rutgers cinema or movie theater. So you can see like a lot of the new movies coming out, or even like in the fall, they did Rocky Horror. And if you bring your student ID, you get like discount tickets, which is awesome.
Just to add on that too, the student ID will give you discounts on lots of local places as well if you show it. And there's also, you can get student discounts through the bookstore as well if you show there. So it's really great. I would definitely recommend it. It also gives you access to buildings at certain times. So like if you have like a lab class, or if you want to go to the gym when certain doors don't open, you can also open the doors with your card. So definitely recommend getting in.
Remember to use your student email address for discounts as well for things like Amazon Prime. If you have a student account, it's less expensive. For any football fans, the NFL Sunday ticket is cheaper if you use your student account for that. So things get expensive. Take a look into seeing, different things that you're registered for and whether or not they have discounts, because even without an ID specifically, just your email address in and of itself can really end up saving you a lot of money. So take advantage.
Just circling back to what Emma was saying about IDs and getting into buildings. At this time, the libraries on campus are checking IDs at the door, and they won't let you in without it. So make sure that you get that if you want to use the on-campus resources. I believe because of COVID, they started doing that just for extra security to make sure just students were in there. So make sure you have it.
It's actually similar at the gyms as well. Rutgers recently instituted a policy where if you don't have your ID 3 times on you and they have to look up your net ID, you're banned from the gym temporarily. So would highly recommend getting one, especially if you want to use the gyms.
Yeah, another resource that we had in the health slide as well, during last fall and winter. So the Rutgers like pharmacy school, they actually offer COVID vaccines and boosters. I haven't heard if they are doing the 4th booster yet offering, but I actually got my booster last December. So that's like a great way to get like the free COVID vaccination too, if you need that. And you probably do need your ID for that as well.
One just general recommendation, read your emails. Don't fall too behind because there really can be great information about events that are going on, but then also depending on your specific track, you know, within the MSW programs, you'll find details about registration dates, and it matters that you really check to see like what applies to you and what doesn't. But you know, the more you're able to keep on top of your emails, the more aware you'll be of kind of what's going on in the program. And then you can parse through and figure out what matters most. But it's super helpful. I know we are all inundated with tons of information all the time, but it makes a difference if you're making sure that you like keep on top of that communication.
Yes. Definitely check emails you get from Dean Hunter. There's always great stuff in there. And also I think I get one-stop information as well. Sometimes it doesn't pertain like fully to us, but it's also good to know what's going on throughout campuses as well. Are there any other ones that I'm missing? And then maybe from your particular program, like I get online emails as well. So just, you know, again, like we get bombarded, but maybe star those. So when they come in, like in your box, you know to check those out.
Nicole, do you have a question?
Yes, hi. I had a question about, I think something that I heard at our orientation a few weeks ago, and I'm not like very tech savvy, so I might have just dreamt this, but I think I remember hearing that there's maybe it's a software or certain articles that we are assigned as reading can be converted to like audio files, because I do drive a lot, and I thought I remember hearing that. I'm not sure if it's we have to do it or if it's just either it's available that way or not, but do you guys have any experience with that or in that vein? Thank you.
One thing I do know is that you can reach out to the Office of Disability Services and request that you get audio files. I don't specifically know of any service through Canvas that does it, but if anyone else has any feedback on that one.
So there actually is. I need to find, I will look for the link for you unless somebody else has it, but we do have it through Canvas. I haven't used it, but I hope it is helpful. Let me see if I can find it.
It's what I'm thinking of. I have used it. It is helpful. It's a little monotonous, but if you're driving a lot, it definitely helps. Like it's not necessarily going to be like Morgan Freeman narrating your readings for you, but it definitely makes a difference because I get it. Like keeping up with things can be really hard. So maximizing, your time in the car is huge. But
exactly. The reading course load was definitely a surprise for sure as a first semester student. And I mean, anything that could help with that would be awesome because I mean, the material is so interesting, but I am feeling a little overwhelmed with getting it all done within the week. So thank you all.
One other thing I could recommend for readings is if you do form connections with people in your classes or your cohorts, like depending on your program model, is to form reading groups. I know within like one of my first classes that was automatically done for us in the intensive weekend program. And then beyond that, we could choose to continue it or not. But if you get together with a couple of students and like divide readings amongst yourselves and share notes, like that can be an efficient way to sort of manage the workload, because it's a lot. It definitely is. But that can be a way to make friends, also get better at outlining and things like that too. But it all depends on like the time that you're working with. I just know a lot of people within my program have continued with their reading groups for the past 2+ years now. So just something to think about too.
Yeah, and throughout the year, sometimes the library or other the academic support centers, like they'll have different either webinars or in-person seminars, such as like a speed reading workshop or like how to navigate different elements of classes. So those are helpful too.
I'm looking for the tool for you, Nicole. I know I have it saved somewhere.
Thank you.
Yeah, I thought it was a cool tool to use.
Yeah, and if any other questions do come up, I know we posted it earlier in the chat, but I can repost that as well. But we have our GSA email as well as our Instagram page. So if you do have any other questions or concerns, you can always reach us there.
I did want to mention, I briefly brought it up earlier, but the Office of Disability Services is a really fantastic resource that I don't think we included. But basically, if you have any mental health, physical health issues, they are fantastic. I used ODS throughout my undergrad and through grad school, and they've always been really responsive. They've always made sure my professors accommodate me for my specific needs. And overall, couldn't recommend them more. They're a really great service to utilize, and there's no shame in using them. If you do need the help, I definitely recommend reaching out to them.
It's really interesting, I feel like, as social workers, confronting, how vulnerable it can feel to ask for help as people who often want to be helping others. But I can't stress enough how critical it is to just be honest with yourself and other people if there are times when you do need support, because we'll be better prepared to help other people if we're kind of taking care of ourselves first.
Okay, I found it. I'm going to put it in the chat. I'm pretty sure this is it. We also have a Facebook page as well. Do you mind putting that in, Lauren, as well? You have it up. And that also has a lot of really good resources, and people will talk about, even different job opportunities. So it's a good thing to just join. And you can also, you're welcome, Nicole. You can also, if there isn't one for your class, you can create one for your class. Myrta asked if there's a GroupMe for this organization. We don't have one open to students for this organization. We send things out mainly through Instagram, Facebook, and then Dean Hunter will send out any announcements that we have. But we are going to create for you a class group, and we're going to hopefully send those out as well through GroupMe. Thank you, everybody. We'll stay on a little bit longer if you
Yes.
have any last minute questions.
Thank you for this information. This is wonderful. I was going through the chat and how everyone is just grateful for all that you've shared and poured into them this afternoon. Some things I didn't know either, and I've been working here for 7 years. So I'm like, that's interesting. So this is great. Well, thank you all for joining us. And if you have any questions, feel free to send an email or reach out on our social media pages, and we can get back to you as soon as possible. But we appreciate you.